Alright, replay review, Milan or Frodo here on Breakfast Holdout Malfurion. Interesting game, looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with a little overview on Malfurion. Some of it, I don't know how much you know about Malfurion, but you seemed like you were trying to come out. I'm gonna go over sort of what Malfurion likes to do. We'll talk about comps a little bit, very weird stuff going on here. Then we'll go through the game. At the end, we'll talk about talents a little bit if necessary, and then give a little summary of maybe some lessons learned and what you should look to work on. All right, so Malfurion, interesting healer. He's yeah, interesting because I think he's kind of like the Kel'Thuzad of healers in a way, because he has this sort of cycle or combo or like thing you want to just get in your head and get down, but once you do that, there's not much else to do. And that's your cycle of your Q and W. Basically, the idea here is you want to constantly have Q as many allies as you can, and you're pressing Q on cooldown or close to it to keep them refreshed, and then you're pressing W on cooldown to get this heal and keep everyone with your Q healed. Your regrowth is mostly just a vessel for Moonfire and then a few other talents. So the goal with regrowth is, like I said, you want that on as many allies as possible all the time. It doesn't matter what their health is really, how damaged they are. There's no real heal priority for regrowth. I mean, there is when you're starting to set them up, but eventually your goal is to just get regrowth on everyone, and that is your status for as long as you can take it. Because again, regrowth is just a flat heal over time. It doesn't matter what level or how much time is left. They're being healed. They're being tech healed the same amount, and they all get the same heal from Moonfire. So the idea is you kind of need to have a mental list in your mind. You begin the game by say casting regrowth on like, well, Hogger's not really going to be with you, so he's not relevant. So, but like here maybe this is awkward because you're down a body, but maybe you start the game casting regrowth on person A, called Shogoth, and then 5 seconds later you cast it on person B, this Falstad, and you cast it on person C, if there was a third body, and you just keep looping around to cast regrowth on everyone, and that can include you as well. You do want your regrowth on you, but the level 4 rejuvenation eliminates that as something you need to think about. And then 5 seconds later, you're casting on person A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. You can just about get 4 regrowths active baseline. Because every 5 seconds, 20 seconds, these are very. Yeah, you need to be perfect, but you can get 4 regrowths active at once. And that's just how you do it with regrowth. You don't really need to think about it. And then W is you just press it on cooldown for healing, unless obviously there's no one to heal or there's no one to hit with the Moonfire. And yeah, the goal is just to get as many regrowths active as possible, because obviously more people with regrowth active means when you press W and hit a W means more people get healing. It means, and also you have a bunch of talents that directly scale with how many regrowths you have active. So that's just kind of your cycle. Once you get into that, that's pretty much just Malfurion. Q1 ally, W1 enemy, Q1 ally, W1 enemy. The tricky part is though that's like a lot of back and forth and looking all over the battlefield, because you have to be ready to press Q on your ally, you have to look for them, you have to switch your focus to allies for the Q, then you switch back to enemies and press W on them, and then you switch back to allies and press Q on them. You have to be looking at like 10 players. And then of course, you also have to be doing that while keeping yourself safe. I have 2 low cooldown abilities that you just cycle through 10 players with while managing your own movement. It can be difficult to get in the rhythm, but once you get in the rhythm, that's like 90% of Malfurion. The rest of it is just other ability use. I will, actually. The upside of this is that, I think I mentioned, you don't really have any heal priority. You just get Q on everyone, and then you don't need to think about who's in trouble, who needs healing, because you can't do anything more. You're just pressing W whenever you can. That does change a little bit. If you take cleanse, then you do have to start looking at who's in trouble so you can cleanse them. But you don't have to like prioritize healing or figure out who you need to be looking at to save or what to keep an eye out for. Beyond that QW cycle, So I'm gonna be looking for if your QW is cycling correctly. That's the bread and butter of Malfurion. Beyond that, looking at your E, opportunities to use your E, easiest way is just follow up an ally CC, not super relevant here, but ideally you'd have like some sort of tank. Murden hits a storm bolt, you press E under it, easy. Otherwise you can use E in choke points, you can use it, you can use it, you can use it in counters, you can use it on points that people might want to be on. Even though it spreads, the middle part is instant, so you can sort of catch people instantly with it if you position it really well. And then your innovate, you can kind of just use on cooldown on whoever needs the most mana. You can evaluate that. You can also use it maybe in fights if no one is desperately needs mana. You can use it on your most ability intensive person to give them the cooldown reduction. But you can kind of just spam this off cooldown. And then the other button you need to worry about is cleanse, which is standard cleanse. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for Malfurion. That's ability usage stuff. Obviously, you staying safe too is a big priority. But yeah, comps wise, we are in some wacky turfs here. You have a Cho'Gall on Braxis. I will say this is probably not good for you. Cho'Gall's a hero, usually not great in Braxis. The wave clear is less of a concern. He doesn't really need to be, your team doesn't need to deal with 3 lanes, so Cho'Gall can focus more on brawling. But Cho'Gall's also a scaling hero, and Braxis is not a scaling map. You don't really have any way to slow the game down either. If you had a Ragnaros somewhere, maybe to help clear the Surge Wave, and then you could just sit back and scale Cho'Gall, that would be better, but you don't. And since this replay is 16 minutes long, I'm gonna guess you kind of just get rolled really quickly and Cho'Gall doesn't get to scale. Cho'Gall's also really awkward with Malfurion, because Malfurion gets less Q targets, which again, you want more Q targets for the talents that need Qs active. And Malfurion is not a good Cho'Gall healer. There's like a short list of healers that work well with Cho'Gall. Malfurion's not on it. He doesn't provide any special buffs to Cho'Gall. He benefits really a lot from a frontline to hide behind. Cho'Gall is not a frontline you can hide behind. And he doesn't provide burst healing, which is good for Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall stuff like Bright Wing, you can burst heal him. Alexstrasza can burst heal him. Oriole can provide a bunch of healing constantly because he generates a ton of energy. Malfurion just gives this like trickle of healing, which is useful. Malfurion healing is good, very good sustain, but it doesn't really work with what Cho'Gall wants. On the upside, enemy team doesn't have a ton versus Cho'Gall. They have an Abathur, which is like even worse. Lily doesn't do anything to Cho'Gall. Ming doesn't do much to Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall actually arguably counters Ming a little bit because he gives less targets to reset off of. Murden is like maybe mildly annoying. He takes Skullcracker, and can interrupt Cho'Gall Q charge or whatever. But not really that important. Zul'jin can be a problem. He gets to stack off Cho'Gall, and if he goes Q build, which he probably won't know Storm League, Zul'jin's go Q build, it's a sad day. Q build can shred Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall has options to outplay, of course. So I would say, like, comp-wise, this looks like a good comp to play Cho'Gall into, but comp to play Cho'Gall with, this isn't great, and map to play Cho'Gall on, this isn't great. So yeah, a lot of talking. Let's just see what happens here. You can start pre-casting Q before the gates even start, by the way, just get in the cycle. Because ideally, you want to have Qs active when a team fight breaks. So that's kind of why you want to be having Q on as many people as possible, as long as possible. Obviously, in a team fight setting, having Q on everyone means they're all getting healed. But when a team fight breaks out, it's going to take you like 15, 20 seconds to get your Q on everyone. You don't want that to be a problem. You want it to be as soon as people start taking damage, they're always being healed. So you can start, even if people aren't damaged, you should be casting Q on them and keeping the Q cycle. So you can just start casting Q right now and start getting the cycle active. I'd probably start with Cho'Gall, because he's the one that's going to need the healing the soonest. Cho'Gall, Falstad U is probably just your cycle. And then, of course, with Rejuvenation, and with you don't even have 4 people, you don't need to cast Q on cooldown necessarily. Um, because when Q goes off cooldown, nothing's going to be about to expire, but you do want to be keeping a lookout for the regrowth timers so that nothing expires. Right here, by the way, you should absolutely be starting to cast Qs. Um, yeah, I was thinking this is probably something you need. Uh, okay, yeah, this is fine. Just leave. You can just leave Falstad there and go. If they all want to be top, that's fine. All right. Absolutely should be casting Qs here. Like, yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's no excuse at this point. People are like solidly injured. Q on this guy. There you go. Yeah, the other awkward thing is you have a singular innervate target on this team. He doesn't use mana. He doesn't use mana. You can't innervate yourself. Boston's the only one. You shouldn't be up this far, by the way. Look at what your team is. You don't need to be up that far at all. You just die here because you stay up this far. Okay, you don't, but yeah, misplay on your part. Oh, wait, where's Falstad up here? Innervate Falstad and press Q on him. Innervate Falstad. It's off cooldown. He's your only innervate target. Just spam that button on him. Yeah, so you have Q off cooldown. There's people without Qs. You should be pressing Q. I don't know how. I'll probably keep pointing that out for a little bit, but I think at this point you get the idea. This is the biggest that you can like right now in this first minute, this is the biggest thing you can improve on with Malfurion, and it's really important. If your Q is on cooldown and is off cooldown and there's someone nearby without a Q on them, you're playing Malfurion wrong. And if W is off cooldown and there are enemies nearby and allies that are missing health and you're not pressing W, you're playing him wrong. You just get in the rhythm of Q ally, W enemy, Q ally, W enemy. That's their just plan the entire game. Because I want to show you, why what the problem with that is. I think we can see it right here. Yeah, you just pressed W on this guy. Cool, you got it. But he doesn't have a Q on him, so he's not getting a heal. You don't have a Q on him, so you're not getting a heal from it. He doesn't have a Q from him, so he's not getting a heal from it. That's why you need Qs on everyone constantly. It should, because every W, because right now that W cast did 97 damage. Shoot, no one cares. The draw of W is the heal, not the damage. So if your team doesn't have every Q that you're missing on your team is just healing you're missing from the W. You can't be here, by the way. If that Burden decided to go for you, you would be dead. Again, doesn't have a Q. There you go. Innervate him. Cho'Gall needed that Q more than you did. Did you just recast Q on yourself? Alright, also don't do that. You did. Because, again, there's no... A regrowth at full time remaining is the same as one like half time remaining, a quarter time remaining. The only difference is how soon you're going to need to reapply the regrowth. So right here, you had just casted regrowth 5 seconds ago. Your regrowth was still plenty of time remaining. Casting another regrowth doesn't heal you anymore. You're still getting the same ticks, and that regrowth could have gone to Cho'Gall over here, who's on almost half health already because he hasn't been getting healing. The fact that like this lane is going and soaked so often is a tragedy. W that guy. Okay, you missed. It's fine. Interesting route. Okay. It's mana tension that you're seeing, by the way, is because you've been pressing E so much. Early game Malfurion can't really afford to press E a lot, which is a little awkward because you with this quest you want to stack it, but you just can't do that. Should be Q on Cho'Gall here. Like that, E just wasting you mana. And if you had E now, you could have stopped their escape. No Q on Falstad. Where are you going? Wait, what? What was that? Dude. You just mounted up and ran into their fort. What is this? Why? What possible... I can't even see... I guess you were trying to go... You have Celestial Alignment, you were trying to go for the... No, don't do that. Do not do that. There is zero world where this sort of positioning here for you makes any sort of sense. Don't. I hope with some hindsight it's obvious why that was not a good play. You're not, as a healer, especially as Malfurion, you do not want to be like going up alone to look for kills yourself. That's just not. No. If you're dead, your team doesn't get heals.
Be right there, sonny. Take out that hero.
Good Q. Bad E. If you're going to E, at least get E so it hits the whole point. Huge Shogal here. Nice Q. W. 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 There you go. You wasted like 2 seconds before you press W, and W, the equivalent of W is 3 seconds. So if you're waiting like any time between W casts, you're just wasting healing. Their only time is potentially okay to hold W cast if there are allies hit with W, is if you're looking for a double W hit, because it heals for every enemy hit by Moonfire. If you hit one person, you get 158 health. If you hit 2 people with the same cast, you double that healing. So maybe you can hold it if there's like a clump coming up in a half a second that you can press W on, but even then you can. It's usually not worth falling into the trap of like, oh, I gotta get double W hits. There's no W hit here. Let me hold it. Let me hold it. Let me hold it. Oh, like 5 seconds have passed. So I haven't pressed W. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very good general rule to just whenever W's up and there are allies with Q on them that need healing, and there are enemies nearby, just press W on enemies and don't think about it too hard. That E was useless, and you're walking too far forward here. You can't walk that far forward. Because now you're on half health because you like walked into melee range of that Zul'jin. And this guy, you see this guy, you're walking straight into this guy. You should be just like here. You can press W from over here and be fine and be safe. Walking into melee range of this guy just makes you take a bunch of free damage. Alright, so far, 2 big things to work on. Positioning, okay, and again. You've got Q on you here. You go tap. And you Q yourself again. Again, does not do anything for you. Literally does not heal you anymore. There is no point in using Q on yourself a second time there. So yeah, big things to work on is when I write out a summary, talk more about QW cycle usage, and then your positioning. Yep. I'm gonna look at where's that Q went. I think it went on Shogal, so that's fine. There's no Q used, no Q used, no Q used, no Q used. Wait, did you just Q yourself again? Alright, we're definitely having a talk about Q usage. Because, yeah, so... You come in here. Let me go back a little bit more. So yeah, you tap, you Q yourself again. Okay. Ignoring the fact that you could have queued someone else here. Let's see. You could have queued Shogal here. That's your Q target right now. And then you hit a double Moonfire. That is, what, 165, like 300 health. You just healed yourself. You were already gonna get the full health through your regeneration anyway. This guy's on half health. You could have used a double heal. Then you Q yourself again instead of queuing this guy on half health or this guy on half health. I want to actually just like show you right here. Healing shielding. Enemy, you're just, yeah, you should have probably double this healing right now. You're almost being, there's this Abathur has 6,000 healing. You have 8.5 thousand. This Abathur's only a couple healing points off of you. A couple thousand healing points off of you. That should not be the case. This Lily's out healing you also should not be the case. You should be the highest healing in this game right now by a solid margin, even with only 2 bodies to heal. Oh, and this guy dies, by the way, because he doesn't have, he's not getting healing. Oh, you heal him at the very last minute. Okay, there you go. He did live. But this guy is also dying because he didn't have any healing, because he went into that fight on half health. I'll keep watching this, but I assume the rest of the 3 plays kind of the same. And this is fine. Like, this isn't no personal attack against you. You just don't know how Malfurion. You cannot step up this far. By the way, you have 0 support. If Merlin decide to jump behind you and stun you, you just die. You just don't know how Malfurion really works, which is fine. This is what you were looking for, presumably. Here's some actionable tips for how to play Malfurion better. You already had a Q on you already, didn't you? Yeah, you had a Q on you already. You could have Q'd this false stud. Alright, I'm gonna stop talking about QW usage. I think you get the point here. Already there's plenty of situations in this game where like we can definitely point to and say, yeah, you just cast Q completely wrong, didn't cast Q at all, and you missed tons of healing because of it. I'm just gonna not talk about that anymore. We're gonna look more about your positioning, maybe root usage. You haven't pressed iterate this entire game, by the way. Again, I'm not gonna go over that. I'm not gonna point out that anymore, but this you should just be casting those on false on cooldown here. If there are more innervate targets, you could spread it out a bit more, evaluate who actually needs it. But now just cast on false on cooldown. That's it. Alright. I don't know why you're just walking in circles here when you have abilities up. Alright. And stop spamming these E's too. I get that you want stacks, but it's just draining your mana bar. You've been out of mana a couple times because you've just been pressing E a bunch. Again, there's not much CC to follow up on, but you still want to wait until like it's actually going to do something. Yeah, so like that E didn't do anything because that guy was already running this away, and he pushed E here. He was never gonna hit. But this is horrible positioning. You can't be here. Okay, there's no one here, but you didn't know they could have swooped around and like there's a merchant here. He just jumps here, stuns you. There's a Leeming behind him. You die instantly. You can't stop it. You just die because you're up this far. If you're gonna be clearing this wave, use your W on it more on cooldown. Yep. And just these things should just be pressed on cooldown pretty much. If there's stuff to hit, W. Alright. hopefully you should, yeah, you should get to your storm talents here, and we'll see this. This is, by the way, why you can't be out this far. You just die here, I think. Yeah, you just dead here. You have nowhere to run to. You're up way too far. They didn't get you in the first place, but then eventually they noticed that you were there and you were just a free kill. Alright, let's... Alright. I might assume that was a misclick.
Here we go again. The beacons are powering up.
You're just dying to tower? Okay. I mean, it gills. You press Q once, though, and you're in... The Shogun's the only one that got healing, maybe, like, started halfway through the fight. You can W to kill those mines, by the way. You cannot be up this far. That is why. Okay, yeah. Again, as a healer, especially as Malfurion, you want to be behind your team so you can keep healing them and providing support. You're not a one-man army. You're not Hogger here. You can't just be up like this. You're not Falstead who can fly away. And you don't have much damage. You don't really have much DPS threat. You don't have much health. You don't have any escapes. You just die if people look at you. Alright, let's see it. I'll probably dream back up. I want to see how you use this. You saw someone in there, by the way, so you shouldn't have kept going. Because you're just eating... Are you just gonna die again here? Yeah, stop trying to outduel people. Stop trying to outfight people. You don't outfight people. You are not a DPS. You don't win those. Hogger's death is directly your fault, by the way. He went in to try and save you. So, like, yeah. When you're coming in... You saw them flicker there. I'll actually go back a little bit. I am watching... I am watching from a bit of a zoomed out perspective that you didn't have. Okay, yeah, you still could see them on your screen. Your camera was centered here. This is what you were seeing. You still saw them for a little bit. So you definitely at that point should have gone down this way to avoid that. Going this way, already troll, and then suddenly pop out. You don't try and dodge the orb, and then even after you get hit, you still walk into them and try to fight them. You even cast root on yourself instead of on them. So, all that, don't do it. And while we're standing here, mount up and start going somewhere. Group up with your team. I'd be going to your team here. You don't contribute to this clear. Meanwhile, your team's like fighting over something right here. And that's the counter, by the way. That's his counter play. He just dives on Zul'jin and hammers him through testing go. You can even molten block if he needs to. Doesn't have molten block, but luckily your team didn't die because you weren't there. But it would still be better to go help them. That's a fine E because you're getting the Treant there to help clear.
You have my gratitude. I'd likely deserve food without you.
Just trying to clear. You can, yeah, you can throw a root there to help clear. You don't need to be here. You can just clear the wave. You're now you should be going to your team though. Team's fighting, and you're over here clearing a camp with Hogger. Hogger can do the camp by himself just fine. He doesn't need you. Hogger can do the wave and clear this camp. Your team needs you. Like I do respect the clearing wave, but Hogger's already there to do it. This rotation is awful. You cannot be doing this. Look at where your team is. Look at where you are. Look at where the enemies are. You're on the other side. You should be going around this way and joining up with them. You're gonna die here. This Li Ming is just gonna solo you again. Yeah. You cannot do this rotation.
The beacons are recharging, and the Zerg are growing agitated.
This is why you can't be up here again. You're just dying again. Look at where you're going. You're going here. They just capped this ball, so they're in this vicinity. Your guy is here. They know he's here. They can see him on the wave. Your other guy is here. They know he's here. They can see him on the wave now. So they know that there's where the rest of your team is. You know that they're in the vicinity. You can't step up here. I assume you just lose off this objective.
Quickly, we must return to battle.
Okay. So I think you are horribly misunderstanding quite a lot of things here. So yes, with this build, you could theoretically have some decent DPS. I think there's probably been a couple people promoting DPS Malf in this server, and that might be where you got this. The thing there, a lot of it, this doesn't even add, yeah. So this adds decent damage. This adds some damage. But the thing there, the biggest thing is just you see people with high damage numbers on healers mostly because they're just auto attacking. It's the same thing as DPS Lily, right? In quotes, Lily doesn't actually do that much damage. She's just allowed to auto attack a lot because she keeps healing herself. She's very mobile. She gives herself a little bit of armor, so she can just keep stutter stepping and keep autoing. And if you are people miss autos all the time. If you are constantly autoing, and constantly using your spells to deal damage, you're going to just naturally rack up good DPS numbers. But that requires you to like auto safely. What you're doing is you're running ahead to try and like 1v1 people. You're not. This build, there's no way that you build Malfurion where you're able to just straight up start 1v1ing or 1v3ing people. That's just not how it works. If you want to do damage with Malfurion like this, it's still you're still positioned normally. You're still behind your tank. You still heal people. Difference is just you're taking all the free autos you can, which is something you should be doing anyway. It's not really a playstyle, more of a hey, I'm gonna get all these free autos. Why don't I'll take a Celestial Alignment and get a little bit more damage in. So this is not like a playstyle difference. You can't go this build and you're suddenly a full-on DPS or full-on bruiser able to, outplay people in 1v1 and put out all this damage. No, this is just a little bit more damage on top if you're getting out free auto attacks already. It's kind of like the I'm smurfing, I'm better than everyone else here. I realize how I can keep auto attacking. I'll just take this and like actually have some kill pressure with it. So yeah. And can't be up this far. But that's fine, they're not going for it. I assume you just lose off this Zerg push.
Was a reckless plan.
Twilight Dream Troll. I can't tell if that was a miss. Like, maybe you actually meant to trying to clear the wave with it. It's not worth. You're stepping up too far into this doorway, we're just taking a million free damage. And then, yeah. I see you just die here. Alright, yeah. And you just lose the game off this push. Okay. Talk about the talents. Oh dear. Talk about talents real quick. Because I disagree with almost everything on this tree. So, here is the normal Malfurion build is something along the lines of Emerald Dreams, Rejuvenation, Nature's Cure, Tranquility, Nature's Swiftness, Moonlit Harmony, Serenity. I don't hate Vengeful Roots on 1, especially in Stormlink 2. It actually can do some decent damage. Emerald Dreams gets less value. So I don't hate your level 1 pick. Your level 4 pick, Celestial Alignment. And if you want to do damage, that's usually, I would say, Rejuvenation, because it helps you get all your Qs on quicker, because it instantly gives you the Q for free. You get your cycle up quicker. You can get your cycle on more people, because now you don't have to Q yourself. That Q that was going on yourself as part of the cycle. As part of the 4 that you get over, yeah, just basic math. Instead of having to put one on yourself, you can put one on someone else. So now you can theoretically have Q on all 5 members of your team. Or if there's only you plus 3 others, you get a lot more wiggle room on your cycle. You don't have to be getting Q on constantly. If you miss a second, it's fine. Yeah. On this team specifically, though, I don't hate Celestial Alignment, simply because you have one less body, so that's a little bit less of a problem. For most of the game, it was literally just you, Cho'Gall, Falstad together. And you can easily get a 3Q cycle going. You don't necessarily need Rejuvenation, so Celestial Alignment isn't awful. Again, the damage is not really something I would prioritize, especially since it seems like you're not very experienced with Malfurion. I would not be trying to go for damage Malfurion. Damage Malfurion, if you want to go this build, is really only good when you understand your positioning and understand what you're doing. Because again, it doesn't. These talents don't naturally like transform you in a big way. They're just like, oh, here I could eke out some more damage. You're not like a full-on DPS. You're not able to, like go Orphea levels 1v5, which I think you were trying to do sometimes. That's not a thing. Yeah, I would stick with just like a normal Malfurion build for a bit until you get more accustomed to the hero. Not a fan of damage Malf anyway, because it gives up healing output and it's like stuff Malf wants to do as a healer. But if you must, at least I would recommend learning more Malf fundamentals before you try it. Tenacious Roots I don't like at all. Nature's Cure gets a ton of value. Obviously, as a cleanse, you can cleanse Murd and Stormbolt on your allies. Otherwise, if you're not confident with a cleanse, which is fine, or there's nothing much to cleanse, Wild Growth is also good to give the regrowth some more time and just give you more leniency in your cycle. Even just like a couple extra seconds can make a big difference when you have all 5 people nearby. Again, with Rejuvenation, you can just about barely get 5 regrowths active, but like there's zero wiggle room there. As soon as you cast, you need to be casting instantly on cooldown, constantly on each hero on the list in the queue. Wild Growth makes that a lot easier. You got 0 value from Twilight Dream this game. I like Tranquility more just in general too. Tranquility is a lot easier to use. You can just kind of pop it anytime during a team fight. It gives a lot of healing. It actually, I want to say, more than doubles your healing output in general while it's active, depending on like how many multi-man Ws you're hitting. It's a big increase. Twilight has kind of the problem of it only affects nearby you, and you don't really want to be stepping up, as we've seen multiple times here. It's good if people are coming to you, or if there's some sort of CC chain that you really want to extend and have the ability to step up into. Twilight Tranquil, but Tranquility is definitely the more general use one. Hindering Moonfire is not awful. Nature's Swiftness is a lot better. Even if you're going DPS Malf, I would still prefer Nature's Swiftness. Because movement speed is kind of OP. It lets you to kite a lot more. Um, it's especially useful because Malfurion naturally kind of does need to step up a little bit to get W's on allies and more movement, or W's on enemies, and more movement speed means you can sort of run up, press W, then run back to safety and minimize how much danger you put yourself in. Nature's Balance is fine. The extra area makes it easier to hit multi-target W's, and the extra duration, just like Wild Growth, gives you a lot more wiggle room with your cycle. Moonlight Harmony gives you a lot more healing on your W, which can be really helpful though. I used to be more of a Nature's Balance person because I thought the extra wiggle room was kind of important. Recently, I've been transitioning more into Moonlight Harmony because I've realized it's not necessarily as big of a problem as I thought, and the extra healing from Moonlight Harmony, I think they buffed it a few patches ago, which is like a few years ago. But it is, I've been learning it's a lot better now. 20, you can get your 20 talents, but if you go Tranquility, you upgrade Serenity. This just gives a ton more extra healing. And the cooldown reduction is also really insane. If you go Twilight Dream, you can go Astral Communion. Even if you don't use a teleport, just like a 5-second silence is insane. Otherwise, you can go Lunar Shower, which I assume is what you would have gone anyway because it has more damage in it. The damage is not the relevant part. It's the -1 second cooldown, and W is your big healing ability, so reducing a second off its 3-second cooldown just means more healing per second. So yeah, so big takeaways from this. Number one is your QW usage. Again, you want, and I'll be typing this summary out too for you, but again, you want Q to be constantly being used. If there are enemies nearby or there are allies nearby that don't have a Q on them, and your Q is off cooldown, you're doing it wrong. You want, anytime there's a fight, anytime there's not even a fight, anytime you just have allies near you, they should have Q on them constantly. You should just be keeping the regrowth always cycle between them. Keep like a little list in your mind. Okay, it's A, B, C, D. So I first start by casting Q on A, then 5 seconds later I cast Q on B, then on C, then on D, and then we cycle back to A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. And that's just what you do. It should be automatic. Because and more Qs on more people means more people are getting healing, and the duration of the Q doesn't matter. As long as they have some amount of Q left, they're getting the same healing. They're getting the same healing per second ticks. They're getting the same healing from Moonfire. The duration is only, you can think of Q as just like a little mark on them. The duration of the mark doesn't matter. It's just, is the mark on them or is it not on them? So you casting Q on yourself like 3 times in a row doesn't do anything for you. And all it does is keep Qs away from your allies. And then W on enemies, which you were doing for the most part, but I think that was mostly for the damage. There were times you were holding your W. You should be, just W on allies anytime that, or W on enemies anytime the enemies are there, anytime your allies need healing. E usage, I'm not gonna go too hard about it because the QW usage cycle was a lot worse. But you were casting E at random times. I think just more fishing for stacks than actually getting the CC value. And that just costs you mana, that costs you your CC ability. It's better to actually get value out of the root. And Innervate, you did not press that once this game, I don't think. You can just cast it on cooldown on whoever needs it. And so ability usage is a big one, especially make sure your Qs are on people as the number one absolute biggest thing. I'm just gonna check your healing numbers because I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah, you got hard out healed by Lily. That should not be a thing ever. And then on the actual playstyle side, you just walking forward way too much. You want to be behind your team, pumping out those healing. If you want to go for auto attacks, that's fine. That's perfect. You should be going for auto attacks when they're safe, but you can't be walking forward into danger by yourself as a healer. That's just how you die. You can't be, if your team's over here, and if you see your team over here and enemies over here, you can't be walking this way because You're just behind the enemies. They're gonna turn on you and kill you. If your team's clearing waves here and here, you can't be walking up this way because if there's people here, you just die. If your team's all gone and your fort's gone here, you can't just be clearing waves in vision here because eventually the enemy team is going to realize that there's a free kill just sitting up top. You're a squishy person. You have no escape abilities. You don't really have any burst healing on yourself. You have a little bit of sustain. You have a little bit of damage with your level 4. It is not enough to save you if people come to try and kill you. The best defense is not being a target. That's just healer fundamentals. There are some healers that can stretch this a little bit, step up a little bit further. But Malfurion is absolutely not one of them. He's maybe one of the easiest heroes to just jump on and kill because he doesn't really have any escapes. Yeah, but again, biggest thing, it literally, if you just get your Q cycle in and keep Qs on people and keep Wing enemies, your Malfurion performance will shoot up. And if you also implement in that better positioning, and keeping in mind like where you are, don't be a target, stay behind the team, stay with the team, look out for ganks. If you implement those two, you will be doing way better. Yep. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions if you want to discuss more. But yeah, if you like Malfurion, keep up with him. I think he's a really interesting healer. I have fun with him. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and see you later.